Okay, we are up to 22b1, Chavbet Amud Bet, Ve'en Ofin. So it's right, a little bit right before the first wide lines in the Gemara. Gemara says like this: Ve'en Ofin, Pitin, Giritzin, Ela Rekikin. So we explained that there's different kinds of breads that they would bake. And the Gemara said that the Bet Shammai says, in Ofin, you're not allowed to do those thicker breads, only the thinner ones. Tana Rabbanan.
Referring to Yom Tov, cooking.
Yes.
Yom Tov, right?
Yeah. Tana Rabbanan. Bet Shammai Omri. Bet Shammai says, in Ofin pat, ava Pesach. Person, you can't bake a thicker pat, thicker loaf on Pesach. What's the reason? Already see the Gemara. Pat ava Pesach. What's the reason? Because if you bake it thicker, there's no way to know that it's not going to become chametz. Okay? The nature of it is that it gets baked slower, and if it gets baked slower, so flour and water and warmth is a result of a disaster. Okay? It's a rising problem. Says the Gemara, Bet Hillel matirim. Bet Hillel say you're allowed to. Bekama pat ava. So in other words, what does it mean that you're allowed to? That obviously you're not allowed to make it chametz, but you're allowed to do it because we assume that there's a way that you could do it fast enough that it should become, it should not remain not chametz. Kama pat ava. So what does it mean? Bet Hillel is allowing a pat ava, thick dough. Amravuna tefach, up to a tefach, a bread up to a tefach. So imagine like a loaf of bread has a height of roughly the size of a tefach. So the size of tefach. We find that the lechem hapanim, the bread that they put on the shulchan, was tefach, right? And we know that that bread was also, there was an isur for it to become chametz, because only specific things where we allowed you and said that this should be made chametz, only those things were chametz. Everything else was not chametz. So therefore, you see clearly that there's a reality of something that thick that you could, with your expertise, if you know how to do it, if you rushed fast enough, that it would not become chametz. Says Gemara, Matkif la Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, 1 second. Im amiru bezirizin. This that you said, that in the Beit HaMikdash, they were able to bake on such a thick bread, that was mentioned to Kohanim. That we know that Kohanim are very strict with the halachot. They're zooming, they're running around, they're doing everything to the fastest possible. They're very strict with the mitzvot. They're going to be very, very careful. You want to learn from there? You're saying that this Bet Hillel of Pat Ava, of thick bread, that you could learn from the Bet HaMikdash and the Kohanim to a regular Aigei, making it in his backyard in his uni? Right? Come on. Says the Gemara, Im Amri Bepat Amala, right? If you said it, Bepat Amala, right? Which is from the Lashon Amel, which means that it was kneaded very well. Yomru Pacheena Amala. You're going to say the same thing for dough, which does not have the same amount of working out on it required. So the Lechem HaPanim, it had different laws and different propensity to become chametz based on the people who were making it, and as well how much the dough was worked on. Im abru be'etzim yebeshim. When they had what's it called? The wood in the fires of the lechem hapanim. That wood had an obligation; it was not allowed to be wet or moist at all. So therefore, dry wood burns the hottest because you don't have the moisture soaking up the heat. Yomeru be'etzim lachim. A regular guy, he's he's putting whatever wood he has. Did he check it to make sure? So all this is going to impact the nature of the bread. You said it by a boiling hot oven. You're going to say it about a guy who just fired up his oven and threw his bread in there. There's so many problems here. We said it in lechem hapanim, which is in a metal oven. Every random guy, they had a oven made out of earthenware. The difference is in how well it conducts the heat. So all of these things tell you that you can't prove from the lechem hapanim that you were able to cook something, a bread that was thick on Pesach, that you should also be able to cook a thick bread on Yom Tov. Gemara says on Pesach, but not as a lechem hapanim. Gemara says clearly Bet Shammai, when they said thick bread, they did not mean that thick. Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba said, She'elit et Rebbe biyachid. When I had the chance, I asked this question when I had some private time with him, biyichud. Manu Rav, who's this Rebbe that he's mentioning? It's talking about Rav, and he asked him, "My pat aveh." When the Beitzah says that Hillel says even thick bread, what did he mean? Said pat miruba. It means more, not thicker bread, higher bread. Rather, you're allowed to put in more bread.
More loaves.
Wasn't it determined by the minutes of the rising?
It has many
It has
different,
a lot of characteristics.
But
ingredients, rising.
Ingredients, heat, warmth of the water, nature of how well the dough was worked. And those are really all questions that the Gemara then asks on the rabbi,
An
saying,
average person
there's so many things that go into this. The lechem hapanim had the highest possibility of not becoming chametz. How could you learn from there to something else? By the way, you should just know, the Sephardic matzot that we eat, that we used to eat in all the Sephardic countries. Yes. Did you heat it up properly?
One time, not bad.
If you heat it up properly, it's a game changer.
It's hard to
eat matzah, it takes you, the whole shiur of matzah, takes you to eat it less than 30 seconds, a minute. And your jaws don't kill. That's what we used to eat. Ashkenazim only cook the
They only
crackers.
have a little, but it's hard.
What happened when we came here? We were living in Ashkenaz land. The matzot that the Syrian community used to get were from a Hasidic bakery called Papa Tzelem.
Yeah.
Okay? Delicious crackery matzah, but not as Sephardic way, right? So the Sephardim now have Sephardic matzah, and it's here. It's only kosher for Sephardim. Why? The thicker matzah.
It's like
Almost looks like a lafa.
Yeah.
Okay? I got to get you some for next year. You can even test it out before Pesach comes around, so you'll see how much better it is. You got to keep it in the freezer. You take it out X amount of time before. You heat it up in the oven. You stick it in the oven for 2 minutes, whatever the case might be. It comes out. You know what size a piece of matzah is? Instead of half a matzah, 3/4 of matzah, this big. Like one slice of a
Covers the
personal
amount.
pie. That's the whole shiur of matzah.
Yeah.
So you're eating, like, it takes 2 seconds. It's easy.
Simple.
Doesn't kill you, doesn't kill your jaws. Anyway, bottom line, Ashkenazim hold, you can't have it, only the cracked one. Why? This Gemara is the reason. Gemara said, matzah ava, a bread which is thick, it might come to a situation where you can't control the chimutz,
aspect
the leavening process of the bread. So therefore, Ashkenazim hold that that's not allowed. Says the Gemara, Ika Amri. There's another way of saying this same outcome. Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba said the name of Rav, She'elit et Rebbe b'yichud. I asked my rabbi privately, Manu, who's that? Rabbeinu HaKadosh, not Rav, rather Rav's Rebbe, who was Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. And what did he say? My pat ava, hat miruba. It means that you're allowed to cook many loaves on Yom Tov, even stuff that you don't need on Yom Tov. You're allowed to bake more in the same run, in the same oven.
To use for the.
My karu lepet pat ava. 1 second. If you meant more, why'd you say thick? The Gemara says, Mishum denefisha belisha, because there's a thickness in the kneading process. When you're making more dough, so then the kneading process is a process of ava, and therefore that's why we called it this misleading name. All right.
So it's volume, not size. That's what he said.
Yeah. Inami, says the Gemara, another answer to this. All right. Inami, why are we calling it ava? Ba'atre, the haitana, pat miruba, pat ava karule. Even easier answer. In that area, that locale, when it's talked about a lot of bread, the way you said a lot was ava. Well, the word that we use for thick also meant more. Okay? Now, by the way, we actually use the word thick for this as well. right? Where do we use this, the word thick? We talk about how in produce, that a field is thick with, right? What do we mean? Meaning that there's a lot of value, right? Okay. So Ava has this crossover meaning, and that's what it means, and that's what they allow. Now, obviously, this is an interesting idea. Why are you allowed to cook bread that you don't need on the holiday? We already came across this before. Either way, Gemara answers, Michti, 1 second. Mishum de katarach tircha telo tzarichu. Bet Shammai says, the reason why you're not allowed to do it is because you don't need this for now. So why are we allowing you to bake it? Now remember, the oven is already baking. Right? So what am I doing with putting extra things in? Work. I'm putting more loaves in. That's tircha yitera, and that you don't need for the holiday. If that's the case, says the Gemara, why the Beitzah talk only about Pesach? It's the same idea on all the Yamim Tovim. There's no difference, Pesach and other Yamim Tovim, if the problem was tircha, how difficult it was to do. Gemara says, Enachenami, you're right, 100%. It's true for all of them. Vitana b'Yom Tov de Pesach Kai. Why did he say Yom Tov Pesach? Just because that's what he happened to be talking about when he was talking about the Machloket Bet Shammai Bet Hillel. Right? Someone asked him. It was on Pesach. He's like, "Could I cook bread in the oven?" He said, "Bet Shammai says exactly what you need, not more." Bet Hillel says even more. But really, had they asked him on Shavuot, it'd be the same answer. Tanya Me'achi, the Gemara says, and I can prove this. We can prove it from another Beitzah. Bet Shammai omrim en ofim pat miruba biyom tov. Bet Hillel matirin. So we have a Beitzah that actually switches out the word Pesach for the word Yom Tov. So I have a Beitzah that illustrates that what I said to you before, that this was not specifically one, that they were arguing in both. That is also correct. Okay. Says the Gemara. Now, again, remember, we're jumping from one thing to the next, and our linear journey over here.
So it didn't have relevance to Pesach, Rabbi, then? You're saying all the detail of, you said that the Ashkenaz...
No,
it
did. It was stated on Pesach. The Gemara thought that we're talking about Pesach and the thickness of the dough.
Okay, so they disproved.
So at that point, the Gemara proves that's not what the Beitzah is about.
So now
this Beitzah.
The Ashkenaz took the thing from the...
But regardless, even if Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel were not talking about that, you see from the Gemara that the Gemara understood that there was a difference of opinion as to whether or not you could manage the chametz on a thicker versus a thinner bread on Pesach, even within the 18 minutes, obviously. Okay? Says the Mishnah. So now, basically, we went from Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel, arguing here, Bet Shammai arguing there, Bet Shammai lenient to Bet Shammai lenient. We're going through all the relevant, sushtas, all the relevant connections. So now, the last thing we've got is these opinions of Rabban Gamliel. Afu Amar, Shiloshat Dvarim Lakel. So we just got finished saying that he does 3 things that are strict. And Joey's thinking, I'm not supporting his yeshiva. Then, he's clearly over here, what does it say? He also said 3 things that were easy, that were good. So you're back on the payroll, all right? Mechabdin bet hamitot, okay? Mechabdin bet hamitot means person has a place where they eat. Again, it's an interesting expression, bet hamitot. Rashi says, bet hamesiba sheochlim sham. A place, a party place, a banquet hall, sheochlim that we eat. Shayu mesubim ve'ochlin al gabei hamitot. Now this is one of those beautiful examples that what do we say on Pesach? That the wealthy people, the aristocracy, how did they eat?
On beds.
So you read this, Mechabdim bet hamitot, the house of the beds. What are you thinking? The bedroom.
Right.
No, the dining room. Shoot, dining room, bet hamitot. The answer is they had beds in the dining room.
For eating.
Right? There were these beds that they would lean on, like this, they were eating, that's how they would eat when they were royalty, like an eating couch.
Like a lot of pillows.
Larry Lounger. Okay. Mechabdim.
That's a good one.
You like that one?
I like that.
Lizard Larry. Okay. Mechabdim bet hamitot. U'merichin et ha'mugmar biyom tov. So you're allowed to sweep the dining room. What's the issue? What's he worried about? Monday night in my house when there's no cleaning lady?
That's why you can't go home.
I came to my house. He's not going to sweep the dining room? What's happening? What's the issue of sweeping the dining room? We'll see. U'merichin et ha'mugmar biyom tov. You're allowed to put mugmar, okay? Now, this is a scenario they used to have where they would put, in order to have a room smell good, they would put some spices or incense on the coals, on the fire, and even though they didn't need the fire anymore, that's how they would make the room smell better. And you're able to take the entire gedi, mikulas, which means with its the whole inside, what do they call it? The afal, right? Right, that's the technical term. OFFAL is the technical term for intestines.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, nobody knows.
Is it an acronym or it's an?
This is
actual-
awful.
Way to
Hey,
What internal what?
That's the joke. Don't listen.
literally ofal is the
Internal
OFFAL.
internal
That's what it's called.
politics?
The intestines, the digestive tract.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's what they would call it. And in fact, that's when you could see it sometimes even on a menu if that's what they're serving. They would talk about that. Okay. So they would do. Huh?
It's not kosher.
This is what I was reading late at night under the covers with the thing.
You have a lot of stuff under there. You covered a lot of ground.
I read a lot of books. You know who else was under there?
Listen,
Who else was under the covers?
Hey, Masai.
Schmoozing under the cover sports. No? Nobody knows?
Cosell? Who's schmoozing?
Every night.
Oh, the schmooze.
What was the guy?
Not Howie.
The guy-
Steve Summers.
Steve Summers
Steve
schmoozing
Summers.
undercover
Summers.
sports. Right? Until the morning. Mato!
Yes. Yeah.
So I was under the covers. Who's under the
He was great, that guy.
Amazing. You know, seeing Gedi Mikulas B'Leit Pesachim. So you have the whole Gedi, and you would have it eat with the inside on Leil Pesachim. Chachamim Osrim, but the Chachamim, they say that that's Asur. So what's the machloket over here? What are we talking about? So let's take a look at Rashi. Rashi says, we did the first one, the Mechali Bet Amitot. Mugmar Livona Al Gabe Gechalim. Rashi already tells us a little bit more precise. What specific incense did they use on the coals? Rashi says, I'm not going to keep you in. They're not gatekeeping over here. Livona. It was frankincense. Okay? That was the kind, that was what they used to put on top of the coals. Mikulas, the Gedi Mikulas. What's the Gedi Mikulas that Rabban Gamliel allowed? Kira'av ubnei me'av tiluyin chutzalo betzido. He would have the kerev akilai, right? We always talked about the innards that would be that they would be with the Gedi, but they would put it outside betzido alongside. Kishetzulu when they would grill it. V'ayu osin zecher lemikdash shekatuv bo al kira'av al kirbo. When they would do it in the Bet HaMikdash, they would do it al kira'av al kirbo. Umikulas. What is the word mikulas? How does that tell you that we're talking about with the insides like this? Lashon gibor mizuyan shekli zayino tiluyim bo betzido. The warriors that would go with their the sword and the sash that would hold the sword in place. Okay, so it was hung alongside the warrior. All right, kidimitargevinan the kova nechoshet the kulsa the nachsha. So they would have their helmet or their sword. They would hang it on either a belt or a sash that stood at their side. So gedi mikulas means where something was hung at the side of it. What was hung at the side of it? The entrails, another word for you, right? That they pulled out and they had alongside, and that's how they would grill it as a zecher lemikdash. The Chachamim, on the other hand, said, no, you can't do this. Bishiloshtan. They argued, not on the last one, but they were arguing on all three. Bishiloshtan, into all three. How did we know, by the way, that the Chachamim just says Chachamim Muslim? Maybe they're only arguing on the last one. How does Rashi know? Right away, arguing on all three. Maybe they're only arguing on the last one. Last one, it says, that's what they did, this Gedi, like this goat, right? Chachamim says Asur. Maybe they just only argued on that. The answer is because the Mishnah began by saying Rabban Gamliel was more lenient on these three things. So it had to be that someone was arguing with him. Chachamim Osrim, therefore Rashi understood, was arguing on all three, and they were the ones that argued with him on those. Says the Rashi, Chachamim Osrim, Bishloshtan, Bikibud, in the first one, when it comes to sweeping the Bet HaMitot, they said it's Asur, Mishum, Ashvuye Gumot. Now we don't have this anymore. Today, sweep the floor, no problem. Back then, remember, what was the floor in the house?
Dirt.
Now, what happened is, as people were moving the tables, the chairs, you get divots in the ground.
You get grooves and everything.
Grooves.
Correct.
When I sweep the dirt, what happens if there's grooves and holes?
It'll
Covers up,
fill in.
fills up a hole. Ashvuye gumot means evening off, leveling off holes.
It's work.
That's work. It's asur.
Yes.
That's building, as we said. There's many different
and
problems.
yeah.
But ashvuye gemot, Chachamim said you can't do ashvuye gemot, which is clear, by the way, that if it was a regular stone floor
that issue.
or it was a wood floor, no problem. Okay, but either way, Chachamim say ashvuye gemot. Ubim mugmar. What about the livona? Why can't I put the livona on? Mishum delav tzorech kol nefeshu. You're allowed to cook on Yom Tov. Why can't I put the frankincense on the coals? Because what did we allow you to do?
It's for
We
sense.
allowed you to cook for
Cooking.
eating.
Yes.
Or, we also said other things. Like if a person is very cold, he was allowed to warm up by the fire.
up with the-
Why is he allowed to do that? We said because over there,
Body.
guy is freezing cold.
Yes.
That's something that everyone would say that's a need.
Incense
When you
doesn't
could look at a need that everyone could agree is a need,
Versus
we
an
allowed you to
extra-
cook.
Versus an extra item. Incense is not
Incense,
necessary,
I have had many meals
Without
in a pizza shop. What's going on over here? It's not frankincense up in this joint. I gotta get out of here, right? So therefore, lav tzorech kol nefeshu, it's not a need for everybody. And therefore, asina lebeketubot, they said it's forbidden in Ketubot Perek Rishon, first chapter. Asher yachel lechol nefesh, what does it mean? Yachel lechol nefesh, to every soul. Davar hashaveh lechol nefesh, something which is equally needed and used by everybody. V'zeh eno ela lemefunakim. This is only for very highbrow people that they can't eat unless they have smell, a delicious room. What do they call it?
Aroma.
No,
Rumor.
there's the machine that they put in the corner
Oh, that thing.
from the hotels.
The smell,
The rooms, the smell, the sanitizer.
They plug it in.
Plug it in. There's a name
With
for it.
air fr-
All right, we'll kill
air
it.
something.
Air
No.
diffuser.
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 Yeah.
You know,
Diffuser.
you know when I heard the word diffuser
used to be the
more
brand.
than any other
Blade.
time ever
Blade.
Yeah, when?
Go ahead.
at a funeral,
Diffusing.
What?
At a funeral.
at Zvidi's funeral,
Oh yeah. Jackie's.
they all talked about how he loved to buy people diffusers.
Wow.
For the
And whenever he came with a gift,
It
he
would
would
be
come
a
with a diffuser and a smell and a this and a that. They were talking about how much he loved to give people things.
Jackie, great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
8th-degree black belt.
So at his funeral, they mentioned this. I was like, I'd never heard the word diffuser at a funeral ever.
I have it all over my office.
With the diffusers. Yeah. It gives a very luxe
Yeah.
smell. That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Right?
takes
The minute you walk into
Fresh. It's nice.
a lawyer's office, a financial person, a
Car
hotel,
dealership.
you immediately feel this place is legit.
Yeah, legit.
Before you even see,
Lobbies.
before you saw anything,
No.
already you're like,
Positive.
oh, this is
By
legit.
the way, they
Positive
use them in
impact.
retail stores.
Use them in
because
retail
they
stores.
Want them to
Positive.
buy
Exactly.
Positive
feeling
thing.
happy.
Kind of.
Oli mi shirechora. Right? So, yeah, who uses this? Either someone who's very high-line guy, or someone who has very bad BO.
Right, has
The
the
mi
deodorant.
shirechora.
Cover
The
up.
guy stinks, right? That's why, by the way, the name for perfume is you the toilet. Okay. Dira?
That's a good one.
Mi shirechora. Ubigde mikulas mipne, right? A bigdi mikulas. And how about when it comes to the goat, which is how come you said that's forbidden?
You gotta write down.
That's food that you can eat.
Recorded.
That's food that you can eat. It's
Talking about your
TM.
joke.
Registered trademark.
Yeah,
You got
yeah,
it
yeah.
on that?
With the toilet. We heard it here first.
Yeah, you understand me? You got
I'm
this?
with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, bigdi mikulas. Why they forbid that? The stuff that's hanging out is also food.
Jack?
I don't have an answer.
Okay.
Give it to opposing counsel. Okay, so then she's done. No further questions. No further questions or answers.
I rest my case.
Why? מפני שדומה לקודשים. Answer out of left field.
Why?
Because this is too comparable to a korban, the kodashim. ויאמרו מותר להקדיש ולאכול קודשים בחוץ. People, if they see you cooking it in a way which is too reminiscent of the korban as it's done in the Beit HaMikdash,
Ceremonial.
people think, oh, you're doing a korban here,
Small.
so we could do korbanot and deal. Fantastic. Now the guy thinks he's doing korban in his backyard. So we didn't want. By the way, where do we have a parallel to this? On the night of the Seder, there's halachot. You cannot eat the roast thing. Can't be roasted on the plate, right? The whole thing. You got to boil it and then roast it. Some people are using chicken. All different items. People roast it and they don't eat it. Why? It's too similar to have a roast shank bone on the plate, and then people are thinking, oh, I have the Korban Pesach over here. Why? When we say matzah zu,
Right.
maror zu, Pesach, put your fingers away. You're not allowed to point. It says in the Haggadah. Why? Same reason. Because if you say this is Pesach, people think, oh, that's Pesach.
Pesach.
Now they think you're allowed to make a korban bachutz outside of Jerusalem, outside of the temple. So Chachamim came from left field and left field and left field. Rabbi Gamliel had three items he wants to say yes. No problem, sweep your floor. Chachamim like, what are you talking about, the floors? What do you mean, the holes? You're evening off the things. And then he says, what about the frankincense? They're like, what's the guy have? B.O.? He's a highline guy. I like how they pick two opposites. He's H.
Fasulia.
One or the other. Supposed to Fasulia. Right? Either this or that. Well, the last one, maybe it's Kodashim. Chachamim came up with 3 reasons why it's Asur.
So they're giving
We
a
got
lot
the
of-
Mishnah so
they're
far?
giving a lot
Yeah.
of credit to the average person doing something in their house, like that people would mistake it for Quran. I mean,
You're not going to see it.
these are
They're gonna
smart
see it in your
guys.
house.
These are
No. All of us are sitting in my backyard.
yeah. We're not,
I'm preparing a gedi the way you would prepare it back in the Beit HaMikdash. A person might think, oh, this is the Korban Pesach, because it's being cooked with the stuff outside of it, which is reminiscent or too reminiscent of how it was done in the temple. So a person might think, oh, there's a Korban. Meanwhile, are you allowed to eat a Korban outside of Beit HaMikdash? No. So we're worried about the fact that people will make assumptions and therefore learn incorrect halachot from it. Okay? Let's continue. Says the Gemara.
There's no shiur for a hole to be covered up. There's no like amount of depth or anything. I mean,
The-
you said sweep the floor.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're only covering a minute part of a hole. Is it covering the hole? There's no shiur for it. There's no amount of
You mean how big of a hole do you have to fill?
correct to be.
So perhaps to do it deoraita, we would say yes. But like almost every isur mideoraita on Shabbat, what is asur in the full amount is asur in the half amount. Remember we talked about it with the tzitzit. Let's say I have a knot and I tie the knot very tight. Or I tie the knot not so tight. But on the way to tying a knot tight, you have to tie it half tight. That's called chatzi shiur asur min Torah. So the question is it going to be the oraita? Is it going to be the rabbanan? But the chachamim say either way you can't do it. Okay? So ashvu yeguma of any size
sweeping the dirt.
you can't do.
Good idea.
All right. Now let's move on. So we have the Mishnah in the bag. Says the Gemara. Amar Rav Asi. Rav Asi says machloket legamer. We have a machloket over here about frankincense. Burning the frankincense. Okay. However, machloket legamer. Aval lehariach ve'akol mutar. Gemara says 1 second. This lighting of the smell in the putting of the frankincense on the thing, Rav Asi wanted to say we're not talking about a regular scenario where you're using a scent diffuser. We're talking about a scenario where you were trying to imbue the clothing with a smell. Now I don't know if any of you are young enough to have ever purchased clothing from Abercrombie and Fitch?
I don't know.
Nobody. But at the time, if you were to buy a T-shirt, a pair of jeans, anything from Abercrombie and Fitch,
Yeah, enough.
smell the item, they put perfume, their signature perfume, on all their clothes. So your clothing would come home and it would smell like Abercrombie and Fitch. Yeah?
Okay.
That's what they used to do. So there's an infusing of a smell into a beged. So Rav Asi,
That's where we get the putting perfume on your clothes on Shabbat. Is that
Yeah.
where we find it?
yes, exactly. Okay? So the Gemara over here is saying, when a person is doing such a thing, you're doing it in order to get the clothing. That's what they argued. But if you're putting it into the room, there it's mutar, right? Why? Because that's, according to Rav Asi, he understood that was a regular enjoyment, a regular practice, but it wasn't like melacha driven, like you're trying to sew up a tear or improve a beged by ironing it or cleaning it, etc., etc. Gemara says, hold on, metveh. No, I don't like that, what you just said. No. The Beitzah says, En mechabdim bet hamitot biyom tov v'shel bet rabban. A person is not allowed to, we said, he can't sweep anything. V'shel bet rabban gamliel mechabdim. But the people who come from that home, ya'ani the children, grandchildren, the descendants of Rabban Gamliel, mechabdim, they do sweep, following the ruling of their father, Rabban Gamliel. Amar Belezer bar Tzadok, Rabbi Eliezer bar Tzadok said, Pa'amim harbe nechnasti achar ava lebet Rabban Gamliel. Many times I followed my father into the house of Rabban Gamliel. V'lo hayu mechabdim bet hamitot b'yom tov. And I never saw that they did, but rather I saw that they didn't, which is an interesting thing to see.
I saw
Like,
them
how
not-
long were
I
you there for? then?
saw them not
How
do
do
it.
you see that they didn't? But it's clear that there was something that he witnessed, like Ya'ani, if one of the cleaners came in with the broom and they were like, hey! No. Maybe he witnessed that they actively did not do it, okay? But regardless, he says, I saw that they did not do it. Ela mechabdim oto me'erev yom tov. They would sweep the room before the holiday. Uforsin alehem sadinim. And they would put sheets on the floor before lemachar k'sholchim nichnasim. Misalkin et sadinim. Then they would take off the sheets. V'nimtza habayit mitkabed me'elav. And it would look like a freshly swept floor because they had kept the floor covered the whole time since they swept it. So you think they swept it maybe because you saw a swept room. Let me tell you how they achieved that phenomenon. Okay? They swept before the holiday, covered it with sheets. The guests came 3 minutes before. It's T minus 20 minutes, whatever. Yank out the sheets. You walk into a room that looks like it's smooth. Okay. Forsin alehem סדינים. למחר כשהולכים נכנסים, מסלקים את הסדינים. ונמצא הבית מתכבד מאליו. אמרו לו, they said to him, אם כן, אף בשבת מותר לעשות כן. What are you talking about? If that's the case, if that's what they were talking about, that they would do it me'erev Shabbat, and they would put down sheets, and they would remove the sheets, why talk about Yom Tov? You're even able to do that on Shabbat, because you didn't do anything. You swept it before Shabbat, you put sheets down, then you took the sheets off.
Before Shabbat.
What'd you do?
Nothing.
Nothing. So then why would he said it in Yom Tov? He would have said it also on Shabbat. If that's what he
That
meant.
would be the problem.
If that's what he meant.
Is that what would be the problem would be with Yom Shabbat, right?
Yeah. Okay? The Beitzah continues. "Ve'en manichin et hamugmar b'yom tov." So we're really in the middle here of our proof against the first question of Amar Avasi. Okay? But we'll get there. "Ve'en manichin et hamugmar b'yom tov." You can't put the smell, the incense on the coals. B'shabet rabban manichin. They used to put it. Amar Rabbi Eliezer bar Tzadok. Eliezer bar Tzadok says, "Pa'amim harbe," many times. Nechnast achar Abba. I went after my father to the house of Rabban Gamliel. They did not put it there on Yom Tov. Ela mevi'in adaskaot shel barzel. They would bring these almost like I guess it's like a pan of metal, but it had holes in it. ומעשנין אותם ערב יום טוב, and they would fill up these pans that had perforations with smoke before Yom Tov, ופוקקין נקביהם ערב יום טוב, and they would open as well. They would take a cork, a stopper, and they would cork up the holes in this sheet of metal that they'd heated up and filled with the smoke and the incense. When they would come in, the guests they would pop the cork, and what would you get? It would fill with the smell of the burnt incense. So really, what they do on Yom Tov? Nothing. They opened a can of whoop smell. Amirulo, what did they say to him? What do you mean? Imken, if that's the case, same question. Af b'shavat mutar la'asot ken. There's no isur to pop the top of a previously stored smell on Shabbat either. So why would Rabban Gamliel have told us this Beitzah only on Yom Tov?
Would it be muktzah?
No. It's like a can of, imagine a can of perfume.
Yeah, but you're
infusing
making work,
the
but
room.
you're taking work. You're doing something. Oh, it's part of the item.
I have a can,
part of the item.
perforations,
It's like opening the bag
filled
for
with
the
the
bread.
smell,
It's like opening
opening
the
the bag.
Yeah,
Once
it's
I opened the
part
bag,
of the
once I
thing.
took off the
Yeah,
top,
it's part of
it
it.
did nothing.
Yes,
So they asked, then you could do that on Shabbat too. He would never have said it only on Yom Tov if that's what he meant when he said that you could do it on Yom Tov. He would have said you could do it on Shabbat too. Okay? Says the Gemara, what do you see? From what we just said, what were we doing with the levona, with the frankincense? We weren't Abercrombie and fitching the t-shirts.
No.
What were we doing?
Storing it.
We were diffusing the smell in a room.
Yes.
So you see, Rav Asi, it's clear from the Beitzah that we just
weren't
said
burning it.
that it was not for that.
Right.
So you want to say it was for that, but for the room it was mutar. What do you see from here?
Just the room.
That's not the case.
Right.
It was for the room, and that's why. Gemara continues. Ela itmar. But if you want to make a comment about this machloket between Rabban Gamliel and Chachamim, hachi itmar. Amar Rav Asi, what did Rav Asi say? Machloket lehariach. Aval legamer asur. If you want to be able to say, to have a discrepancy like you just put into the Mishnah, you probably meant it the other way around. The Mishnah that records the machloket is talking about the room. But when it comes to putting it in the clothing, there everyone says asur. Because that's more like a melacha and less like something for human enjoyment. Got it so far? Okay? So if you want to say, it's like the Gemara is telling him, we don't even agree with you on this.
Well, we're gonna help
If
you
you
out.
want to say the
We wanna
Hadush,
make
I'm going to throw you one. You could say it like this.
Make it like you have some relevant.
Yeah, okay? So you could say, and that fits. That fits with our Mishnah. We don't have a problem with that version. Okay.
Now go take a walk.
Both of them
We'll
are
get back to you
offering.
later.
That could be a problem.
The game
It could be what?
Go take a
It
walk. We'll
almost
call you
sounds
back
like
in
both
Asia.
offerings, so they don't want that to be an offering. Like you have incense and meat, right?
No,
Yeah,
here
but
we're
it
separated.
almost could sound like it.
Here, we're separated. There's no meat here. This is a separate scenario of incense.
Not the roasted.
The incense has entered the chat. Okay? That's what we're talking about here.
Closing.
And that's separate to the last case is the Gedi Mikulas. Okay? The Gemara says, Abayil, who we asked, Ma'ule Ashen. Is a person allowed on Yom Tov? I want to take fruits instead. Yeah? And I want to take the fruits on top of the burning spices. And I want the fruits to get a smoky flavor. All right? And am I allowed to do that on Yom Tov? All right? Now, this is a very interesting thing because what we just said is that the machloket is in spreading smoke in this incense smoke in the room.
Releasing.
But to smoke a shirt, you're not allowed to. But here, what am I smoking? Food. So maybe that's just like regular cooking. Take a look at Rashi for 1 second. Rashi says, Ma'ule Ashen, perot be'ashan besamim, liklot ta'am abosem. I want the fruit to get the smell of the incense that I'm burning. It will be like an infusion.
Like smoked food.
But specifically,
No, I'm
not just smoke,
No,
but frankincense fruit.
okay.
No.
Yeah?
Apple,
So
cinnamon.
whatever you're burning,
Right.
that item
You
in
want
there.
it to be the
Apple,
taste.
Yeah.
cinnamon.
Where do you find this, by the way? Today, they actually sell wood pellets, like apple,
Yeah.
cherry wood, wood pellets, that there's a specific flavor in the wood that you're trying to get
smoke
through
the
the
food.
smoke
Yes.
into the meats. Okay? Says the Gemara like this. So are you allowed to do that or not? Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Rabba Amar Rav, Yirmiyah said in the name of Rav, Asur. Shmuel Amar Mutar. So Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Rabba said, Rav held Asur. Shmuel says, Mutar. Machloket, Rav says it's not allowed, it's not regular cooking. And Shmuel says, Mutar. The Gemara says, Rav Huna Amar Asur. Rav Huna says in the name of Asur. Why is it Asur? Mipnei shemichabeh. Because what happens when you put all these spices on top of the coals?
Puts it out.
In order to puts it out. The minute this is burning, when you put it directly on the coals,
it calms it.
it,
Yeah, sure.
it takes so it
No
extinguishes the coals for that second. So that's kibu. You're not allowed to extinguish on the holiday. Amle Rav Nachman v'nema mar v'neshem avir. Why are you saying that the problem is the extinguishing of the coals and not the igniting of the spices? Because that's making a fire. Why do you choose extinguishing over igniting? Each one of them.
Spices ignited.
Yeah, of course.
Well, the heat, they're going to get heated.
Imagine you ever take those the evergreen and throw it in the campfire?
Sure.
You get the cackling,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
You ever do that?
And that
So
odor,
it's burning,
it's good to kill
and
the
it
bugs,
smells
it does
delicious,
all that
right? Yeah, it
stuff.
smells great.
Pine, it's a
You
big
take
thing.
like the long pine sticks,
It's a big
you throw it
item.
and it crackles.
It's a big
it looks
item.
beautiful
It
also,
smells good.
and it smells
It keeps
delicious.
the bugs away, too.
But
So-
it ignites after the
Look
fire.
at how much he knows about the.
Joey,
It
wow.
was a camper.
Now we know who the
Yeah.
arsonist of '87
No,
was.
but I didn't have a flashlight. I used the regular lights.
That's why you lit so many fires. You never flashlight. Says the Gemara, Amar le Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says, why do you choose this one? Ne'em amar b'nei because of that one. Amar le tchilato mechabe v'sofo mav'ir. You're joking. Sequentially, which one happens first?
The coals.
Coals. I picked the first one.
Yeah.
You ask me why I didn't say the second one. I picked the first one I came to. That's already the asur. Right? Good answer.
It's another
Gemara
one that-
says, I mean,
it's
not
another
that
one
he
that would
needs
have
my
an amount.
approval. What?
You would also think it's another item that would have an amount attributed to it.
No?
In other words, if you
Extinguishing a
if you
fire?
put- no, but if you put just
It's gonna burn
a
out
little-
that piece of the fire.
No, but if you above it, it will have no effect on the fire.
No. Impossible.
You think so?
If a
will
lot
burn it
extinguishes,
before it gets
then a
to
little has to make a difference because every a lot is just a lot of a littles.
No, but it burns it before it gets to it.
If you pound
If you put a very little volume of something, it won't even get to the fire. It'll just.
If you're thinking of spices in our terminology with
what do
like
you-
this,
what do you think?
that
Big
wasn't
cinnamon
spices.
sticks you're thinking of?
Yeah, they didn't. It was unground.
Yeah, that
Imagine you get a big cinnamon stick,
leaves,
yeah,
sticks,
or a big cloves,
chama,
right? Or what's the
Sounds
item?
like a garlic.
What's the item with the star item?
star anise.
Or garlic.
That they put star anise.
Something like
Put the whole star anise on it. Okay? So the second you put the
big
second
item.
even if you touch a coal with a stick, what happens to the coal in that spot?
Shit.
Yeah? Mavir. Right? A mechabeh. Okay?
Mindy's in that department.
Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. All right? תחילתו מכבה וסופו מבהיר. אמר רבי יהודה, אהלן וסהלן, את הזמיר הגיע לכל התור, נשמע בארצנו. את הזמיר הגיע. This is the pasuk שיר השירים. אהלן וסהלן, sure. מרחבה. אמר רבי יהודה. רבי יהודה says as follows. Al gabe gachelet asur. If a person puts spices on top of a coal, asur. Al gabe cheres mutar. What happens if he puts it on top of a piece of earthenware that's on the coals? It doesn't burn it.
It doesn't burn it out.
And it doesn't extinguish it.
knock it out.
And it doesn't ignite it.
Right.
Rabba Amar al gabe cheres nami asur. Why? Mishum dekar molidrecha. Because what happens is it infuses the earthenware with the spice. In fact, if you get a pizza stone
Sure.
from the OG Italians, what do? Before they use it for the first time on pizza,
They burn it.
Yeah.
they burn. What do they burn on it? Basil, garlic,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
It's like they
call
say
it
a wood-
seasoning the stone.
Oh, that's right. It's also
That's
like
what they do.
Like a salad bowl.
Yeah.
A wood salad bowl. It has a
Absorbs.
lot of the oils and the spice in it. That's the way they do better salads.
So that's the nikuda. That's the nikuda over here.
It holds the taste.
So if you're bringing that,
Yes.
okay.
if you're bringing,
I remember that. It's a big item.
yes, it is.
History.
If you're bringing
That's what they use all
that
the sandwiches
smell
as a restaurant.
into the cheres, says the second opinion over here. Rabba says it's asur. Now again, remember it's such an interesting thing because it's like almost obvious. You're thinking to yourself, you want to put spices on the fire. It's a problem because it's going to put out the thing. It's going to light the thing. Okay, so how about if I put it up here?
Right.
I get a grate, hold it up, no problem. But if it's something that can absorb the smells and the taste of the spices you have, then it's a problem because you imbued it into the thing like the shirts that we spoke about before. Says the Gemara,
So by itself, you would say it's okay.
if you could figure out a way,
Put it up.
how about you hold a stick, a long stick
You
with
have it
spice
like a
on the end?
skewer.
No
You have it
problem.
over
Metal.
it.
In the air.
Metal tray.
Like a barbecue thing.
Metal absorbs flavor too. Metal is the same as cheres. But if I just hold it out like this, there's
Like a
nothing
shish
to
kebab
absorb.
thing.
It's
A
only
stick.
going in the room, no problem.
No problem. Right.
That's the case of the room, where there's no extinguishing and there's no fighting, there's no lighting or igniting.
Just
Right, all there is the smell, no problem.
You're activating the heat.
And that's a human enjoyment, and that's again the machloket of Rav Gamliel and the Chachamim. Rav Gamliel said yes.
You can't use marshmallows now because they're light.
No marshmallows, no problem.
They're light.
That's the
food is
process
good.
of cooking them.
Yes, it is.
No problem.
Yom Tov.
On
You're
Yom
allowed to
Tov.
use this.
Oh, halan
You're
u'sahalan.
allowed to use the.
Another one?
Welcome back. Be'ezat Hashem, the words of Torah, Shebi Nishmat, your mother Rachel, Bat Joar. I've been saying her name again and again and again and again. Te'eh Nishmata Eden. We welcome you back with health and happiness and long life for you and Wendy and the entire family, inshallah.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
Says the Gemara, Rabba and Rabbi Yosef, the Amri Tavayu. We have Rabba and we have Rabbi Yosef, and both of them agree, Schufe, Kasa Ashirai, V'yom Atava Asur. Let's say a person has a kasa, a cup, ashirai, which has all sorts of smells in this cup, right? You put in either the smoke of the smell or some perfume, whatever the case is. Now I take this thing and I put it on top of a garment of silk.
Okay.
Silk is so thin and absorbent, right? That even just turning it over on the silk is already enough for the silk to absorb the flavors. Gemara says, not allowed. Because you're giving birth to this new smell in the beged. How come this is any different? Why would we say that there's a difference over here from someone who's mimolelo umeriachbo? So when you ever have someone gives you a little bit of mint, how do you smell it? If you're a newbie,
Crack it.
you just smell it.
You
No,
rub
but
it.
If you're an old school eye guy,
break it.
you do this.
Yeah, you squeeze it to get the.
You just roll.
sap
You
out.
just roll it.
Yeah.
You're rolling your fingers. As you're rolling, what's happening?
It releases
Releasing the
the
oil.
pressure
releases the stuff. Yeah.
on the leaf, on the stem, is already releasing those oils into the air, and then suddenly you have this strong smell of mint. Okay, same thing by the way with etrog. If you have an etrog and you squeeze, you should not do it on the holiday. After the holiday is over, you squeeze it. Well, you could smell the smells
Comes out.
outside of the etrog, even without putting your nose to it. So says the Gemara, "Maishna mimolelo umeriach bo." A person is allowed to go like this and smell. The komto umeriach bo, or he's able to cut a piece of the top of it and smell it. Also, in that case, when you roll it and you bend it and you snap it and you bop it and you flip it, whatever you do, you're going to get some new smell out of it. That's molid recha. I'm giving birth to a new smell. Okay? Says the Gemara, Hatam recha mihaita. When it comes to the case of the wood, this or the mint or whatever, the smell is already present in there. Ve'osufehu dekamosif recha. All you're doing is adding surface area for this smell. You're spreading the smell that already exists. Hacha oludeu dekamolid recha. But when it comes to the good smell on the earthenware or the good smell on the silk or whatever, I'm taking the smell and I'm bringing it into a place where it wasn't before. So the molid recha is not just opening up a smell that's already there. I'm infusing it into something where it wasn't before. And that's why
Asur.
that's why it's asur.
Are you allowed to use scented candles for Shabbat?
So by the way, just as an aside, if you spray deodorant, you know, spray deodorant on Shabbat. Joey's
On your
thinking.
body?
Joey's thinking. Be very careful. I'm about to leave your shul.
Yes.
No, I'm not a big
That's the
deodorant.
right answer.
I'm not a big
I
deodorant.
use cologne. on
Are you allowed to? Are you allowed to spray deodorant on Shabbat?
Yeah.
Yes. How about if I'm sweating, my clothes are sweating,
Spanish bath?
I walked the whole way.
Puerto Rican.
Can I spray deodorant on my shirt?
No.
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 Why? Molid recha.
Infuses.
This is the item.
Joey just said it before.
Yeah? This is the isur. Molid recha. Right here. This exact
So your
scenario.
body you're allowed. but
P.S.
No.
Just on the side, when I said that you're allowed to use deodorant on Shabbat,
Yeah.
we're only talking about spray. When a person has a
Roll
stick,
on?
a bar asur.
Oh, really?
Why?
Because you're carving it off.
Mimachek. Yes.
Yes.
There he is.
Carve.
Mimachek.
do you think I do?
Mimachek
I'm
means
all
you're he's smoothing. You're smoothing. It's like using
Yes.
bar soap on
Yeah,
Shabbat.
yeah.
Same isur.
Yeah.
It's an item which is hard.
Liquid
It's
you could
shaving,
use.
shaving,
What's that? You
shaving.
can't use bar soap on
You can
Shabbat?
use bar
Liquid
soap on
soap,
Shabbat.
liquid
A
soap.
liquid soap which is running, no problem. So what does that
You're not
mean?
that religious, though.
Stana. What does that mean?
Sadiq stuff. You're not there yet.
Boris, yeah.
I just had you in my mind. I just had you as Jack Nicholson when he opens. You know when he opens the thing in the bathroom with all this bars of soap? No, nobody knows that.
Which one?
Very funny. I remember 100 years ago. He opens the mirror and there's 100 bars of soap there. He's OCD eye guy.
Yeah.
No, nobody knows. Okay, we'll go back to it. I'll take you back to the videotape. Regardless, to use the bar of soap on Shabbat, asur. Liquid soap that runs, no problem.
Right.
Okay. So what other deodorant is left?
Roll on.
Roll on. What's roll on?
It's
Liquid.
the liquid that you just,
Roll on is liquid
but
in the
you're
bottom.
just applying.
There's
it,
just
using
a,
the ball.
a simple ball at the top.
And it applies it.
As the ball moves, what happens?
picks it up.
It picks it up and rolls it
applies it,
around.
and applies
All
it.
you're doing is moving a liquid. No problem.
No problem.
Unless the liquid is very thick.
If the ball gets stuck, you know.
So if the liquid is very thick, it's a problem.
Right.
So in other words, if you were to pop the ball out and you were to go like this, what would happen?
You're supposed to pour
That's
out.
how you know if the soap is liquidy enough to use on
Has to
Shabbat.
pour out.
If you take a liquid soap and you go like this and nothing happens,
When you
it's
say
very,
liquid soap,
that's
could you
too-
use
very
in
dense.
the bottle is okay, or just open free?
So
free open.
not all liquid soaps come down the
So
same
not
way.
gels.
Some of them, if you just take your hand, go like this,
But could you
right
could
off.
you take the liquid soap?
Some
with
of it
a pump?
stays.
How about a pump?
Could you use the pump?
When you use the pump is just a delivery mechanism.
Okay, so you're allowed.
Stand no. The pump means nothing.
Means that.
The question is what's in it. Okay?
Okay,
So
liquid.
if when you pump it like this, you ever see the item, it stays right there? You go like this, don't move.
No, that's,
Shaving cream.
yeah, no good.
Shh. Right?
No,
like this.
that doesn't count as a
That's
liquid.
obviously not liquid.
No.
It
Solid.
infuses with air.
It's a solid.
Fuses with the air. Okay? Now, 1 second. So if you take a liquid soap and it doesn't move, that's not liquid enough.
it's not
Like toothpaste, not liquid enough.
No. Okay, good.
Okay? If you have a liquid soap that's not liquid enough and what do you want? You need to wash your hands now.
You
What do I
can't
do?
use toothpaste?
Sorry?
You can't use toothpaste?
We're gonna get there, don't worry. We're gonna have to get the
Different
Masechet.
Masechet.
Get the Masechet.
It's a
guys.
Masechet
Boris,
HBA.
See you in a
kiss
month.
everything.
Masechet HBA.
Stana,
Get
Stana.
everything done now. I'll come back after the
Go
summer.
take a
Just
shower.
go to the
Keep
McVeigh,
waiting.
you're
Keep
done.
waiting. 1 second.
Open the McVeigh.
Stana, ready? But there's a simple trick for liquid soap if it's not liquidy enough. What do?
Water.
Water.
Excellent. You
Liquid.
put the
That's
liquid
my
thing in thing.
department.
You just
I'm
add
an
water
expert in
into
this
your
department.
palm.
You can't
The soap is already much more liquidy now. Now you could use it, no problem.
yes.
Okay? So we've covered a lot of different
Stuff.
ground, and now we're probably going to be smellier. On there's always, by the way, that's the best thing.
Pure.
There's always a way to do it
Yeah.
correctly. It all takes a little bit of learning. You make the adjustment.
Could you use
And then-
scented candle for Shabbat?
Baruch Hanei Le'olam.
Amen, amen.
Sorry.
Off the rip. Off